You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in absolutely gorgeous and nice and breezy Northport, Florida. And thank goodness we've kind of got a little bit of a soft spot right now, I think, before the heat wave comes in. We've been enjoying some great temperatures. As my Friday and my Monday reminder, 75 does not mean 85 on 75. 75 really means 70 or under. But as you guys know, I talk about this all the time because of my trauma experience. It's better to be safe at home than laying on I-75 because you decided to do over 100 and either kill yourself or kill somebody else. So slow down. It's Friday night. Get home safe and keep everyone else on the road in a good, comfortable spot too. And maybe try some courtesy on a Friday evening. So I just thought I'd tee that up, and I've got a very, very special guest in the house today. He's part of Northport, Florida. We're going to learn a lot about Northport, Florida, and really what the vision is for the future. And what they're trying to educate the population on. So I'm going to introduce Brian, let him introduce himself. And Brian, it's all yours, buddy.
Thanks, John. So my name is Brian Lincoln, and I am a board member for the nonprofit Northport Forward. And I'm just going to read you our mission because it sounds better when I read it than I remember it. Our mission is to inform, educate, and inspire Northport citizens in partnership with the city government and similar community organizations to create a vibrant economy and stimulate community spirit while preserving the natural beauty of our city. So that's, like most mission statements, there's a lot of pretty words in there, but there's a lot of heartfelt commitment behind those words as well. I'm a new citizen of Northport. I moved here in November of 2019, just in time for everyone's favorite year, 2020. But after moving here, I decided to try to find out what's going on with the community. And fortunately, to do that, there was an election happening. And so there were campaigns going on that offered Zoom calls to be a part of. And so I took advantage of that. And in so doing, I learned that there was a lot of things happening in Northport and have happened in Northport that have left kind of an emotional mark on a lot of people here. So I learned a lot, and I wanted to make a difference because I intend to stay here. I'm retired. I intend to stay here in Northport for the rest of my life. And so I had some time and decided to reach out to some folks and see what I could do. And so in so doing, Northport Forward reached back and asked me to be a board member, and I accepted. And we're just getting started. Due to the COVID restrictions, we didn't have a whole lot of meetings and things happening where we could cover them and so forth. But this year we hit the ground running, and we just got our new website, which should be scrolling, or if it's not, it's northportforward.com. Very simple, very straightforward. There's not a lot on there at the moment. Like I said, it's probably less than a week old. And so we're going to use this website to educate and inform and inspire, just as our mission statement says, our fellow citizens of Northport. So I understand that not everyone is retired as I am. I do have some time to get online and ask questions and search for answers and so forth. So we thought that if we could put together information both from the city itself and from the citizen side of issues in a way that was maybe a little easier to digest, if you will, and get to the real heart of the matter when talking about issues, that we could help both the citizens understand what's happening and city government understand what the citizens are perceiving of what maybe the commissioners, for instance, would be doing and working on. Let's see. I wanted to tell everyone that I'm sorry, John? I can't hear you, John.
I've got a quick question for you because we've got about 55 minutes. Sorry about that. I muted myself. So I had to unmute for a change. So everybody out there in listening land, they're like, mute him, mute him, mute him. But I'm back and I'm live. And the question is, because you're new to the area and because you had a drive to get involved, because you saw a need to get involved, my first question for you is, what would you tell people a good reason to get involved for or with Northport Forward, and what can their expectations be if they do get involved?
Well, again, I think part of it goes back to time. Not everyone has the time to investigate proposed changes or spending on certain things and whether or not that's what they would really like to see. And so, the intent is that Northport Forward is going to provide some clear answers, some clear information, maybe is a better way to put it, some clear information so that, let's say someone comes home for work and they get on the computer and they go on to northportforward.com and they say, okay, what are they working on? And they pull that up and say, well, I didn't realize that, something about the West Villages or the water and sewer proposal that's coming up, and Warm Mineral Springs, which is near and dear to my heart for a couple of reasons, and we'll get into that. But, open that up and say, okay, what are the projects, and pull that open and say, what's the latest information on it? What do we know? What's being talked about? Maybe have some links in there so that people are spending a little less time surfing the net looking for information. They can go to a place and say, here's where I can find the links, the basic information, maybe even detailed information, maybe even specific information from specific people, commissioners, let's say. So that's where I think if people want to get involved, then that's great. We need feedback from citizens on these topics as well. It's a two-way street. The city goes to the citizens to the city. We are trying to be in the middle and make sure that roadway both ways stays open and clear all the time.
And I like how you put that, because time for our community, which we now know due to some of the data that was just collected, 90% drive away to go to work elsewhere in other communities. And by the time they get back home, they're now taking their kids to soccer or baseball or football or entertaining them, cooking dinner, doing homework. There's a long list of things. And I've been involved myself with the city for 22 years. And I really like how you put that out there, because I think we need to find a way to drive our citizens to a streamlined information portal that will get them involved and maybe encourage them to get out and vote, because now they have the knowledge of the vote in their hand, versus what we have been doing, which is just major elections and going in and voting for president or governor and then walking out of the voting booth and leaving Northport with 16% of its voting population carrying the load of who's in office and what's going on. And I think that is essential in changing. And I think that's probably what you're talking about as far as being involved with vision, with a Northport Forward kind of thinking, is the more people that you can kind of gather around in one little spot and give them the ability to catch up on some information in a really good streamlined way, it's gonna encourage people to get involved. Don't you think that is the case?
I certainly hope so. And I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are better versed in certain topics than any of us in Northport Forward. So I really would like to tap into that sort of expertise. And why not? And if we can work together to make more of Northport citizens aware of what's happening so that we can all make better decisions when we do vote or when we do go to city chambers and voice our opinion, then we know that we're coming from a standpoint of informed rather than just guessing or personal feelings about something. Now, that's to me, I don't see how, anyone should make any major decisions based on feelings alone. I mean, you should have the information to back up what you're saying, what you do, and what you want, where you want to go. So, yeah, and that point about people leaving town to go to work, it's part of our mission is, to create a vibrant economy here in Northport. We can do that. We can put jobs that are high quality jobs, not just taking the credit card and giving the fast food back. Something that means a little bit more is a higher paying job. It's got a skill set to it. That's what we should be looking at. Keep people here locally if we can, at least more of them. Not everyone. It's not going to work out that way, but that's fine. But the more, the better. And, this two-way street, I've had conversations with 3 of the commissioners, and I've had conversations with citizens. And so I'm working both ways, both sides of it. Both ends of that are giving me information about my number one topic, which is the Warm Mineral Springs Park. And so it allows me to be able to weigh both sides of an argument, if you will. So it becomes very helpful. And I can't stress enough that the expertise that resides in this city is amazing. Having a place to be able to communicate that is what is needed oftentimes. And I know that Northport has a long history of nonprofit organizations being formed for this or similar reasons of getting things through, getting it understood, having some organized effort towards a particular project or another.
Well, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of pride within our city. With anyone who has lived here any length of time knows the value of Northport as a community as a whole. And I think that encouraging people to kind of step into, and I don't even want to call it the politics arena, just the educational side of the politics arena is really sometimes a scary thought for people, because they think, as all organizations, they think they're going to get sucked in for hours and hours and hours of time frame, where you're really not asking for that up front. What you're really asking for is get involved. Let's hear your voice. Let's get some topics going, and let's get you educated so you can fire up not just yourself, but family members and your key influencers around you. That's how you build a good, strong organization that really influences a town. And I think a couple things that I know that you're going to point out is that with a Northport Forward, we actually have the ability with that group to make the future a vision, because it's the citizens who are going to be driving the force of Northport Forward the more it grows and gets stronger. Do you want to kind of explain how the citizens being involved with Northport Forward can change the future of Northport?
Sure. First, I want to say that I do not have a history of politics. I worked for basically one company for the last 30 years, and I managed quite a few projects and was successful at it. So getting into the world of politics and citizen issues is new to me. And I'm really looking forward to sharing what I'm learning with others through Northport Forward and especially our website. And I think, I think the year I moved here in 19, there was over 4,000 people moved to Northport. And I think there was probably around the same amount last year and or more this year. So there's new people coming in all the time. So, climb on board. Let's learn what's happening. There's a lot of new people. We don't need to go back into the past and dredge up some, disagreements that were just become hostile. Because I know that they existed, and I know people had their opinions back then when things happened then, but we don't have to dwell on that. I think I didn't come up with the name Northport Forward, but I like it because it points us in the direction we want to go. We want to go forward. So, people who want to get involved with what's happening around them in their neighborhoods, trash pickup on their street, whatever it is. We have 29 parks in Northport. Wow, that's fantastic. You've been to them all? Are they good? Do they deserve to be a park? Could they be better? Let's find out. Let's get into this so that people's lives can be improved by knowing what's available, first of all, knowing how to access it, knowing who to talk to, knowing what it's costing. Now, I can tell you, going back to my story about coming here, how did I end up in Northport, Florida, out of all the places in the world I could go to? We came down here a few times. We looked at neighboring cities and said, well, I really like it. I like the pace. And, this is Southwest Florida on the Gulf Coast area. That's where I want to be. And when we started looking for homes to buy, Northport had a value to it that I couldn't find elsewhere. I bought a nice home. I'm very happy with it. And, that's how I'm here. And I want to maintain that quality of life that's here. I don't want to see our city make decisions that lead us down a path that isn't going to keep or improve the quality of life that we have. So, people getting involved at all with Northport Forward or some other organization, that is fantastic. If you don't get involved, somebody else is going to make those decisions. And from what I've been seeing and what I've been learning, it doesn't really take that many people to make major decisions that could impact your life on a daily basis. As you pointed out, the last special election, I think there was just over 9,000 people put that commissioner in office. 9,000 people. We have, I think, 54 or 56,000 voters in Northport. 9,000 people put the commissioner. You got to unmute. Can't hear you.
I like to put it this way. We have 70,000 people. And it's not voters. You've got that 54,000 out there, but we have 74,000 people. 54,000 voters and 9,000 people make up our minds for us. I have a real hard time, and I've been doing this show for 2 years. And really, if you take that 90% drive away total, that's our voting population driving away on voting day and going, I don't have time. And if we don't change the infrastructure of our own community and we don't build them here, our voting population is going to have to learn that their vote is so more valuable because it's absent. And it's harder to convince people who don't vote why they should if they're driving away and they're not educated on the issues at hand that are going to change their lives down the road. And I think that's where the connection with Northport, Florida, Northport Forward is really trying to step in and kind of soften, and I want to say that, soften the process of gaining information. But if you're new to the community like you are, wasn't that a great way for you to get around not just like-minded people, but people who had the same drive that wanted to see the community thrive? And you can spend as little or as much time as you want in the meetings, but you really have a good central location to go with on Facebook or your website, which is fantastic, to gather the information needed to make a quick decision so that now you can vote absentee and not absent. And I think that's a t-shirt that's out there for Northport, is stop voting absent and vote absentee. And I'm glad you're writing that note down, because that just came out of my head, and I think it's brilliant. Because if we had 25 people wearing that shirt around here on voter a week before the vote, I think people would stop and think for a minute.
Yeah, I like it.
So it's really just changing people's perception of the community as a whole, because yes, they're driving away, but it's also bringing them back and putting our arms around them, saying, but your voice counts. Even though you're not here, your voice counts. We want to find a way to get you here. We want to find a way to change our community. Talk about a little bit about your structure that you guys have envisioned Northport now, and where you see it going in the future as more people get involved, because it truly is about involvement.
Well, yeah, some of that gets back to the numbers game, right? So I think we've seen it doesn't take that many people to make a big difference. And I think, with our mission statement and trying to, create this vibrant economy. So a lot of what we want to do is that economic development of Northport, so we can keep people here, so that more people like myself can say, Northport, Florida is my hometown, and I'm proud of it, and I love living here. That's what I want more people to say. You can't say that if you don't know it, and you don't want to say it sometimes if you know the wrong things or only the wrong things about it. So this is where, I see northportforward.com as being a favorite place to go on the internet for local issues. You're going to have coverage in newspapers and so forth, but this is Northport citizens being involved with the issues of the day that impact Northporters every day, maybe. And so, when you go to our website, you're going to find information that's important to you as a Northport, Florida citizen, not just somebody that happens across that website, or somebody who gets, a local newspaper, say, oh, look at Northport, something's happening there, and then go to the next article. I would love to have Northport citizens go, yeah, I go to Northport Forward to make sure I understand what the ins and outs are of that issue. And so that's how I see it. I don't see us being, super powerful, super huge. I see us as being super useful. And so that's where we need to be. And like I said, we're just getting started. Our website is pretty simple at the moment, but as we delve into these issues that the city is dealing with, that citizens are dealing with, concerned about, we'll put more information in there, so you can go in, you click on the project, you click on the one that's interesting to you right now, and then you learn about what's happening up to the moment, the latest information. And so we've got people that we've assigned within Northport Forward to spearhead these issues. So we have a focus on each one. We help each other out, we back each other up, all across the board, but we do have specific people that say, I'm going to work on Warm Mineral Springs and make sure that I understand it. And as I understand it, I let the people in Northport know what I'm learning, because that, with all these new people coming in, they need to know. They need to know what's happening, and they need to know it pretty quick. Because right now, as you know, it's budget season, and there's lots of talk about funding changes to Northport, Warm Mineral Springs. And so what does it mean? What does it mean to each of us? And so we need to get into that and make sure we understand, because we're paying for this. Northport citizens are taxpayers.
I'm going to ask you in this way, because I believe that one, having a good central location for information is great. But I'm going to ask you in a different way that I think needs to be addressed within our own community from leadership. And it starts at the top with city and also commissioners. But I think we've got to find a way to maybe streamline information as far as getting the information to the public in a manner that is less confusing, more direct, and maybe bullet points on what's going to happen if this vote goes this way versus this way. I think we need to find a way to really educate the voter in an elevator clip. And you know, the old elevator ride when you're into sales, you know, that's ancient stuff now, but it's really a valuable tool to really pop some information to somebody that may make a difference to them if explained the right way. Politics and city hall, it's just a mess when it comes to straightforward communication. Is that something that Northport Forward is going to address and try to simplify some things so that your average day worker who's driving away from Northport and driving back at the end of the day can pop on and maybe gather some information and understand exactly what's going to happen in a short paragraph?
Well, that's the hope, John.
I just wanted to hear you say that, because at the end of the day, we don't have it now, except for you.
No. Well, you know, and that's part of, you know, why I'm part of Northport Forward, because, you know, granted, the city of Northport has a fantastic website. They've got enough information on there to sink a ship. And making your way through it into those parts that actually are the meaningful nuggets that you need to walk away with, that's the part that takes time. And so to your point, yes, I can see that when I'm looking into a topic, I want to know the details, but I also want to know, how do I communicate the topic to my fellow citizens in a way that gets them interested in wanting to know more? So it's a great way to put it out there. Put a bullet point, nuggets, whatever you want to call it. It's like, here's the issue. Here's what's going on. Here's what it means to you, bottom line. Want to know more? Keep reading. Down here, I take each of those and I break them down, spell them out. This is where the information comes from. This is what it means. And this is what it's going to mean going forward. You know, in whatever aspect is touched, either, you know, whether it's taxes going up, or whether it's road closures or park expansion, or whatever it is, that needs to be spelled out. And that's exactly how I would do it. So in my working career, that's how I would do it. You got to give an executive summary, and then you get into the meat of it and you break it down as to why you've come up with the breakdown that you've provided in the first place. So hopefully,
Go ahead.
Hopefully that's enough to get people interested in going, you know, I didn't realize whatever about whatever, but now that I see that, I think it's more important than ever that I find out more and tell my neighbors so that everyone's informed. I mean, I whether something is passed through the commission or not is, you know, almost secondary, because if the citizens are not involved and they don't realize what's being done, it really won't matter what that is. But if citizens are involved, because the topic that they're interested in has been summarized in a way that's meaningful, but also quick to assess, then they're going to be more likely to be involved and to speak their mind and to show up at chambers to voice their opinion, or to sign a petition, or to whatever it is that they can do to be involved with being a part of that decision making and setting that direction that we go forward to. It's not just a movement, it's a direction. And the direction's got to be just exactly what our mission statement says. We're going to work with the government and like organizations. We're going to work towards making our economy grow and be proud of our city. We have 29 parks, as I said, because we love nature. I do. I'm sure people here do. Everyone does. I see it all the time, that people writing about it. So these are the things that we have to take an extra step to preserve, protect, and or to actually obtain if we don't have what we want. And so, yeah, I definitely want Northport Forward, and I know my fellow board members do too. They want Northport Forward to be a conduit to information, and making it useful, the site useful, is putting in information in a way that's easily digestible and contains enough facts for most people and enough details for those who have the time and interest to get into the weeds with it. So it's not going to satisfy everybody every time, but that's certainly going to be our goal, is to get that information out so that it's useful and people can make decisions based on it, both city and citizens.
I love the way you just explained that, because I think it will inspire people to get involved, at least at the beginning stages, a little more, whether it be on Facebook or northportforward.com. Mm-hmm. It's so valuable to people to be able to, with that 5 or 10 minutes a day that they may have to catch up on what truly happened at City Hall or within the community group itself, on what their drive is. I think when you give somebody 5 or 10 minutes to digest some information, they don't feel overwhelmed by spending an hour and a half trying to figure out what they just read, and then trying to get their kids to bed, get them fed, get the homework done, do all the things that they're doing when they get home after 8 hours on the road or 8 hours in another city. I think what we're really doing right now is something we've been talking about for 22 years in Northport, which is trying to find a way to get people who are not here to be a part of here. And when I say they're not here, they're driving away for 40 to 60 hours a week or more for some, and they're not here.
Yeah, they sleep here.
Well, and I hate this term. I hate it. We're not a bedroom community. We are a growing, vibrant community, and I do not want that label. We had that label 20 years ago. I don't like it. I don't think that's what we truly are, because without our workforce, our other communities around us would struggle. There is top value in Northport employees. Top value. We've got nurses. We've got some doctors down here. We've got a range of people that are here that drive away every day to go to work. And yet finding a way that they're not tired enough not to listen. I love the bullet point thing. I love your approach, because the executive summary type idea is a perfect nugget for somebody to read, to understand what's happening at Warm Willow Springs, or how that vote is. We've got some votes coming up in June. We've got some votes coming up, and they're not small votes. Some of them need to be done. Some of them need to be broken down. Maybe we don't need one big vote. Maybe we need baby steps to make some good, solid decisions in a area that needs some attention, but maybe we're not ready for a full-on dump of attention. as a community. I mean, we just went through COVID. We've got some things out there, and the other thing I want to commend you on is that your vision of the connection between the city website and what you guys are doing is really just trying to simplify some things. And the fact that you really promoted the city website, I love it. I think there's a ton of information. I interview city workers. I interview Parks and Rec and Public Works and city commissioners. They all have a huge amount of pride in everything they do. But when you're trying to put out mass information and you're trying to educate people who aren't here, something needs to happen. You know, they have those little books in college that break down the big book that you're supposed to read. What was that called?
Cliff Notes?
Yeah, I knew it. I knew you'd know it. So we need Cliff Notes for politics and Cliff Notes for things that are happening here so that people can get in there and actually grab a hold of it and go, I'll vote for that. And I need to vote because I don't want them to do that. And I think that's where we're going with this whole thing, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think so too. And this gets back to participation by the citizens. You know, come on to the Northport Forward website. You know, as we grow, we're going to put more in there, obviously. And, you know, I don't know, in my mind, I can see a website that is much more useful than what we have right now. It's just a start. It's a foundation. You know, maybe there's a place where we can say, you know, these people only have so much time, and the things that are important to them are A, B, and C, and they can go onto our website and go, you know what, send me updates on A, B, and C. Whenever anything new comes up, I get an email. I know that there's an update on that. I don't know if the city website can do that. It may, but if you've got to go through that and weed through everything, I've even saved the specific page sites, and I have so many saved that I can't navigate through those pages easily anymore either.
Right.
So it's like, you know, it's like learning a new language, trying to navigate through the city website. It's great. There's a lot of information, but not easy if you're not sure exactly where you're going.
Well,
So, yeah.
and I liked how you said that, and I think that I'm going to go right back to what we've been talking about, which is when you're trying to do what you just said, after 8 hours of work, after feeding the kids, after getting the homework done, something takes a back seat, and it is scanning the internet for that kind of data versus scanning the internet to read your favorite book or follow up on your favorite sports team and take that moment and relax for a change. And I like the fact that you're breaking this down to where that 5 or 10 minutes of catch up on what happened here in Northport could be really, really simple, could be really inspiring to people hitting the website to say, yes, while we have a great website for the city and they dump a lot of information and we've got a lot of really raw material there, here's the breakdown. And oh, by the way, I just got the summary over here, the Cliff Note, and I'm ready to rock and roll. And now I'm off to relax for my 2 hours of TV or entertainment or a book or catch up on your sleep. But we've got to find a way to get to our citizens.
Right. And I know my fellow board member, Ginger Miranda, is probably cursing me now for going on all this wish list for the website. But, you know, I think if we're going to be force in how citizens and city government interact, we're going to have to really press forward with this and do whatever we can. I mean, there are websites that you can subscribe to. So when certain things come up, they send you an email saying, hey, there's more information on it. Great. Well, I don't think that's rocket science. It's something that can be done. Generally, you have to build that into your website, but it can be done. And if you come home from work, you have dinner with the kids and whatever, and then you sit down for 10 minutes and go, okay, you pull your phone up, put the internet up on there, and you go, okay, where are my notifications? Here's my Northport notification from Northport Forward. Great. What are they telling me today? I've got three issues that have new information on them, and I really only want to know about this one because that's on my mind. So, and I only have 5 minutes to do it. Boom, you tap that one, tells you what's happening, what the consequences are of what's happening, any events associated with that particular issue that's coming up, maybe even a link to your calendar. So now if you want to join in that conversation at 7 p.m. on Thursday night, you put that in your calendar. Now you got the issue, you have the background information, and you know what's happening when. If we can be of help to do that, that'd be fantastic. I mean, we're starting out with a heart towards making sure our fellow citizens are aware of what's happening and what it means to them. Not just, oh yeah, there's something going on, but what does that actually mean to you? How is that going to impact your life if it goes this way or goes that way or gets totally ignored? That's the thing. I've been online and with Northport citizens, and the variety of answers to the same question is astonishing. People's different understanding of an issue is tremendous. I mean, all the way from one side to the other, you could have total different understanding of what's going on and what it means, or why we're doing something and why we have to do it or why we don't have. It's just amazing how, with all this information, we can still be confused. And I really think that Northport Forward can aid in removing that confusion from at least some of the more important issues of the day in Northport, Florida. So that's our goal. So, yeah.
I got to tell you, we're at the 44-minute mark, and I didn't think that you were nervous to begin with, but you kind of felt like you didn't have too much to say because it was your first time on. But I got to tell you, you carried this extremely well. And I think if we can apply some of the things that Northport Forward is trying to do, what happens when people get involved even a little bit is it relieves a lot of pressure on the people who are driving it. And I think that's another thing that maybe you can talk about a little bit is you're not looking for hours. You're just looking for people for minutes right now to get some hot topics that they're concerned about, to get them involved, even if it's emails and communication back and forth that way on some concerns they have. Can you go ahead and give the contact information for our radio listening audience and how they can get involved there?
Sure, and I'm going to read it right off the screen here. So it's for the website. It's northportforward.com, and our email is northportforward@gmail.com. And we'll be taking anybody's information they want to give us. And like you said, we don't need hours at this point. Kind of need to know where you're at, citizens. What do you think about these topics? What's on your mind? What's your main concern? And we can take those emails and so forth and input and condense them down into a variety of what those topics are, and say, okay, here's a list of 10 things that are on the citizens of Northport's mind. These are the most important things to them. And then we can start working on it. And if we've got people that have expertise in any of those that want to take a few more minutes or hours that they have and contribute, great, fantastic. I think that's the way to go. I don't think we're in this to be on our own to tell anybody else what to do or how to think. This is a forum that we can provide information We can assess what people are thinking and doing, and we can provide that input or output to those thoughts. Now, in addition to individuals, there are plenty of other nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations that are working on issues that we're concerned about. I'm okay working with those people. My word. I mean, they've already blazed some of the trails that we're going to have to tread on. Let's go ahead and partner up, use some information, be friends. Of all things, let's be friends, right? Help each other out. If you've already overcome a problem and we're just dealing with it, please let us know. I know that some of our board members have reached out to other organizations within the county, outside the county, that they've already had situations that they've worked on and they've had solutions. Maybe it works for us. Maybe a version of it works for us here in Northport. We can glean from it, and we can improve our lives that way. We don't have to reinvent the wheel to be effective in what we're doing. We just need to know what's going on. We need to get the information quickly and accurately, and then have a way to act upon it. So that's what we need to do. That's what Northport Forward is for, is to try to be that conduit to get that done.
And I like that. It's a simplification of how people can get involved and really make an impact. Because if you had 25 or 30 emails today on different topics, there's overlap within those emails somewhere that you can really stockpile information and then really direct on some input from citizens. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if we really could drive our citizens just to get involved with, what do you want in Northport?
Yeah.
What do you see? What is something that is a problem that you see with Northport that you want to fix or that should be addressed? We want to make our community great. I've been here for 22 years working at helping make it great. I think we're doing a great job. Are there mistakes made along the way? Absolutely. I don't know anybody out there that hasn't made mistakes along their life trail. And things have to change at some point. And I love the fact that you're involved. I love the fact that you're new and involved. And I like your enthusiasm, because I think it needs to happen. We need some younger, enthusiastic people to really come forward and maybe drive some younger voting population to understand that they have that 35 to 45 age bracket here in Northport has such a demand on the vote and a command on the vote if they just did it, that it would blow them out of the water if they understood the impact that age bracket had. And go ahead and talk a little bit about that. We've got about 4 minutes left.
4 minutes. Wow, just getting going.
I know. I told you that you're a pro at this. It's your first time, so you're doing a great job. And I'll say this: thank you so much for taking the opportunity to come on the show. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to having you back on with some more updates. So,
well, thank you, and I'd be happy to do that. As far as the younger folks getting involved, if you plan on being in Northport for the next 10, 20, 30 years, you best get involved now as much as you can. If it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes, but you need to be doing something to make yourself aware of what's happening in your city. So, like I said earlier, 9,000 plus people with the latest commissioner in office. Whether you voted for her or not doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that number of people is tiny. And now that we have 5 commissioners, it takes three votes, and then something happens. 3 commissioners can vote on something and it happens or it doesn't happen. 3, get involved, understand the issues, ask questions, make your voices heard. Northport Forward is making an effort to provide a way to do that, the way to get information, the way to share your thoughts, and the way to be an organized entity before the city of of Northport so that we can make sure that it goes the way that its citizens want it to. Case in point is Warm Mineral Springs. I'm going to get it in, John.
Go ahead.
Warm Mineral Springs. I've been there twice. The first time I went, I drove up, I saw the condition of the building, and I drove away as fast as I could because it just was not enticing to me. And I have so many complaints about that. But then when you think about what it is, Warm Mineral Spring, the name says almost all of it. And it's such a resource. It's such an asset that Northport has. And the way that it's been handled over the years has been, in my personal opinion, it's been atrocious. And now there's a funding on the table that says we're going to need $9.2 million to do phase 1 of improvements to the property because nothing's been done since Northport became owner of it. And from talking to, excuse me,
and before, because not a lot of what's happening beforehand either.
Right. So essentially, Northport bought a rundown piece of property with the purpose in mind of economic development. And what it's turned into is another park. Now, I mentioned when I first started talking on your show that one of the first things I found out that I didn't care for with Northport was that we spent $12 million on an aquatic center that cost us another $600,000 a year to operate. It's not making us any money. It's not making enough to operate itself. I'm told Warm Mineral Springs makes enough money to operate on its own. But when you add in the maintenance that should have been happening and the upkeep and the improvements and the upgrades, that's $9.2 million for phase 1. When you add all that in, it's not making any money. So we need to be smart about what we do with Warm Mineral Springs next. And so pay attention to northportforward.com because I'm going to be putting information in there that gives some detail as to what's going on, some executive summary bullet points so that here are the issues. And here's where underneath that is where it can be sussed out that this is why it's this. And let's start holding our commissioners responsible for what their decisions actually end up doing. 7 years since we became sole owners of Warm Mineral Springs, and it still has rotten plywood on the front of it. That's shameful. There you go.
And you know what? On a Friday, that's a great spot to leave because there's going to be more topics, and this conversation we're having right now about Warm Mineral Springs, it needs to happen more because there's some votes coming up in June that the citizens need to get involved and understand. And however the citizens feel about this, they need to have their voice heard, whether it be in chamber or via Northport Forward. This is a great opportunity for you to capture some things, but I've got to sign off the air. I really enjoyed you on the show today, and I want to thank you. But everybody drive safe on the way home, and really be part of Northport, northportforward.com. Check it out. Thank you so much for being on the air, buddy. I appreciate it.